Do cats actually feel bad afterward? And if they do, how on earth do they say sorry? Cats can be mysterious, but their way of making amends is more subtle and a lot more interesting than you might think. Do cats even feel sorry? Here's the first thing to know. Cats aren't wired quite like humans when it comes to guilt. They don't have the same moral compass we do. What they do have is an awareness of your mood and body language. If you suddenly start speaking in a sharper tone or avoid them after a crime, they notice that change, and they don't want the tension to last forever, especially if you're their main source of warmth, food, and scritches. So their version of "I'm sorry" is less about guilt and more about restoring the good vibes between you. Signs your cat might be apologizing. So what does a feline apology look like? The most common sign is the slow blink. If your cat sits across the room and gives you a relaxed, long blink, that's their way of saying, "I trust you," or "We're good." You might also notice them rubbing against your legs, gently headbutting you, that's called bunting, or curling up next to you when you sit down. Cats use physical closeness as a peace offering, almost like a furry little olive branch. One of my cats, Willow, once smacked me on the forehead while leaping off the couch, completely by accident. I yelped, she bolted, and then a few minutes later, she reappeared with her tail low but wagging softly. She hopped into my lap, blinked at me, and started purring like an idling motor. That was her way of smoothing things over. The role of scent in a cat's apology. Cats communicate so much through scent. When they rub their face on you, they're leaving behind pheromones from glands around their cheeks. To another cat, this is like stamping, "You're mine and I like you" on you. So when they come over after upsetting you and start rubbing their face against your hand or arm, it's their version of reaffirming the bond. In a way, they're remarking you as part of their safe circle. And if they bring you a toy, or in some cases, an unfortunate insect, that's not just a gift. It's an act of connection. Cats often share resources with those they feel close to, so even if the gift is something you'd rather not receive, it's a sign they want to reestablish that friendly link. What if a cat just doesn't apologize? Here's the thing, some cats are less demonstrative. They might not approach you right away, and that's not necessarily a sign of defiance. Sometimes they need to cool off first. If they feel you're upset, they might retreat and then quietly resume normal behavior once they feel safe. For more independent cats, the apology isn't a grand gesture. It's simply returning to your side like nothing happened. In their mind, the relationship is repaired when they feel comfortable enough to be near you again. How to respond to a cat's apology. If your cat does make one of these peace offerings, the best thing you can do is acknowledge it gently. Speak in a softer tone, offer a slow blink back, or give them a gentle pet in a spot they like, usually under the chin or behind the ears. Avoid scolding long after the fact. Cats don't link delayed punishment to the original behavior, so they'll just think you're being unpredictable, which can hurt trust. With Willow, I've learned that even if I'm still a little annoyed, responding to her apology helps her feel secure again. And honestly, it's hard to stay annoyed at a tiny creature who's practically vibrating with purrs. Misunderstandings that look like apologies. Sometimes, we think a cat is apologizing when they're actually doing something else. For example, if they flop over and expose their belly, that's not necessarily an apology. It's more about trust. And when they meow softly after knocking something over, it's not, "I'm sorry." It's often, "Hey, look at me." The trick is to watch the whole body language package. Relaxed ears, slow blinks, gentle touches. That's when you're seeing true reconciliation. Why this matters for your relationship with your cat. Recognizing these subtle signals can deepen your bond. Instead of expecting your cat to behave like a dog, who might come running with wagging tail, you start appreciating the quieter ways cats communicate. It also means you're less likely to misinterpret their behavior as indifference. Cats may be subtle, but they're not cold. They care in their own unique way, and knowing how to read that makes your companionship much richer. Recap and wrap up. So, do cats apologize? Not in the human "I feel guilty" sense, but yes, they have their own language for making peace. It might be a slow blink, a head rub, a shared nap, or even an odd little gift. The key is to notice those moments and respond in kind. That way, you're reinforcing the trust that makes your cat feel safe enough to keep choosing you as their person. If your cat has ever apologized in a funny or unusual way, I'd love to hear about it. Share your stories in the comments, and if you enjoy learning about the quirks of our furry companions, subscribe to Pet Pals so you don't miss the next deep dive into pet behavior. And give your cat an extra blink from me. They'll know what it means.